Hey, get back here. So, I wanted to give a little season recap now that it's all over. Unfortunate for a Steelers fan. Like a punch to the gut, we got beat by our nemesis, the Cleveland Browns. Well, I guess maybe you could say the Ravens are our nemesis. We'll just say division rival Cleveland Browns. And it hurts, right? It hurts whenever you lose and the season ends. The tears flow no matter who takes you down. So I dried my eyes, and I kind of want to give a wrap of my thoughts on this season. Maybe look forward to it, react to the loss. Not too hard, as most of the reaction came off camera, and there's a lot of holes in the wall right now. We'll say, okay. Now, me myself, obviously, I never had any doubt during the game from the first snap on through. I thought they were gonna pull it out. I just said, Steelers are trying to play on legendary difficulty. Just want to make it hard when Pouncey overshot the snap of this Roethlisberger's head. Then Roethlisberger started throwing interceptions. They started scoring. And then 21-0. I said pass the controller, because that is the Madden speak for the end of it. So, the playoff picture here in the AFC. Good luck to whatever team you guys are rooting for if your team's still in the playoffs. Hopefully there's some good games ahead of us, because now we're all neutral fans. We're officially eliminated. Fade us. And this year itself, though, right? This year for the Steelers, early on in the year, this is one of the most fun Steelers teams I think I've watched in a long time, right? Not just the winning, but like the defense, the dominance against just the run, the pass. And then like early on, we kind of saw them falter a little bit. Deshaun Watson did his Deshaun Watsonist and really kind of threw against it pretty well. Even the Denver Broncos, I was like, wow, they're really completing a lot of passes against us. But, the Steelers, it felt like they only ever played a half of football this year. It really felt like there's some halves they came out in just absolute dominance. And, like, the first half of the last few games, like the Colts games, like the last game that they won in, like, their last 6 games, right? They won one game, and they had to come from behind. Just like, so they always, like, dug themselves a pretty deep hole or, decided not to show up one of them. So it was very frustrating near the end how inconsistent they were, and maybe they were inconsistent early. They were just pulling out the victories. Obviously, except for, the Browns early in the season, a lot of their victories were very close. And some people were like, well, they're against trash teams, which is fair, right? Bengals, Jaguars, not very good. Obviously, Titans are good. They ended up very nice in the standings. But some of these other squads, they were whatever. So, it was a delight. One of my favorite defenses, probably my favorite defense all time since, well, maybe not all time. I mean, they've had some legendary stuff. That it brought me back memories with T.J. Watt, Fitzpatrick of the Palomalu Harrison Steelers of the late 2000s. They really did quite a lot of work there. So overall, it was a fun year to watch. I was excited to turn it on every week until we lost Bush early, and I was like, man, that's devastating. Really, he was coming into his own as a middle linebacker, a young guy. Hopefully we'll have him back next year, healthy, ready to go. And then the one that really killed me was the short week Baltimore Ravens, where they wanted to forfeit the game, and we lost Bud Dupree during that action. So that was the one where I'm like, okay, that's bad. That's kind of almost a season killer, right? A dominant edge threat. I'd say Dupree's probably one of the top 15 edges in the league right now. If you guys want to debate, not jabate, this isn't Twitch. If you guys want to debate that, that's fine. I really thought Bud Dupree played well when he was out there, but I know other people have other thoughts. But losing him, like we saw today, Cleveland was just able to run his way. Highsmith didn't exactly perform well against the run, in my opinion. That's kind of where they gained a lot of the yards. It's kind of like trapping him out, running over him, running around him. Whereas they try to run away from T.J. Watt, which is obviously the solution of how you want to do it when T.J. Watt ended up kind of crashing down on the line of scrimmage and tackling him. And that's kind of all he can contribute to a lot of the run game. So, frustrating end of the season, okay? Let's talk about, overall, besides for the injuries that we had, and the inconsistent play. I mean, we'll go through the offense, right? Inconsistency was the name of the game of the offense. We could look through a lot of their box scores, look through a lot of their statistics, but, statistics doesn't really tell the story, because Roethlisberger, just like in this game, he looked good at times, and then, terrible at other ones. Overthrew receivers, throw terrible interceptions. He threw 10 on the season, but it felt like more. But it's just frustrating, I think. 33 touchdowns and 10 interceptions like 10, 20 years ago. right? When he first came to the league, this was a great stat line. This was like something that you'd build around. But this, it just doesn't seem like good enough. So I don't know what it is and why they're so inconsistent. The drops hurt quite a lot, and, it lost a lot of their confidence for the receiving core this year. But Roethlisberger started missing dudes isn't any better. So a very frustrating kind of offense where even if they got like close to it, right? Today's punt on 4th and 1 was the greatest coward move I've seen since, the last time I tried to ask somebody out, right? I just got shy and ran away really quickly and it gave him a note. It's really, really a truly cowardly maneuver. But it worked, and now me and Foxy are married. Anyways, cowardly to punt on 4th and 1 near midfield. And they did it, and they lost because of it, right? And, well, they lost for a lot of reasons, but they should have gone for that. I mean, any amateur Madden players knows you go for 4th and 1 at midfield. Any pro analytics departments are probably like, turning over in their graves because we clearly murdered ours. And it is what it is. Okay, so the running game was horrible. The offensive line took a major step back. I think the offensive line and the coaching on the offensive line is the most important coaching spot in the entire league, right? We saw what happened after Munchak left. Basically, a lot of the same guys, right? Villanueva regressed hard. Pouncey's awful now. DeCastro's taking a step back. So, a lot of the same guys that were near the top of their position when Munchak was here. Villanueva came out and like, wow, where'd this guy come from? He's phenomenal. Now they're just, horrible. They're the worst run-blocking offensive line in the league. The reason why their pass blocking stats are probably okay is because Roethlisberger got rid of the ball so fast because of how horrible that offensive line is and the fancy pants kind of offense, the dink and dunk stuff that we really should have, just used sparingly. I feel like they could have stretched the field a little bit more. When they started opening it up, that's when Roethlisberger looked best, but, he did make some errors there, as you saw today. Still threw some interceptions even when they opened it up. So, offensive line played absolutely horrendous this year. Overall, the offense was inconsistent at best. Now, that all comes down to coaching, in my opinion, right? They took a step down. They got to offer the bag, either bringing Munchak back, snatched the guy from the Browns to be the offensive line coach because he basically turned that unit into the best in the league or one of the top 2 or 3. I think they were the best in the league this year. I mean, bringing Wyatt Teller, a 5th round pick, trade for him, and then make him into the best guard in the league. Yeah, they got to offer the bag at that guy. Pay him more than Tomlin. I don't care. They need an offensive line coach. They need a new offensive coordinator, right? It's just some changes need to happen. Does Tomlin need to go? No, absolutely not. Tomlin is one of the best coaches in the league, still in my opinion, even though those teams don't seem to show up for the playoffs at all, and sometimes they get embarrassed in them, right? 17 Jacksonville, you have the throwback to that one. Of course, losing our middle linebacker that year when Shaz went down, another devastating blow to defense, right? We've seen defenses where, a lot of people are like, oh, middle linebackers aren't that big of a deal in the NFL anymore. It's all about edge, corners, guys on the outside. But those guys that call the plays, those guys that coordinate the entire defense, the quarterback of the defense, losing them, we've seen 2 great defenses now for the Steelers in the last 4 years go down because the middle linebacker went. So it did feel very hard to replace both him and Dupree, and that's what happened some of the defensive side of the ball. Otherwise, you know what? Offense. We'll talk about contracts in the future in a second. Defense. Overall, I thought Edmonds played better than I really expected him to. I thought Edmonds was going to be the black hole of the secondary again. He played, actually not bad. I did not mind Terrell Edmonds. He really took a step forward. Him and Minka are a good duo back there at safety. Their cornerbacks are getting a little long in the tooth. I do feel like they need improvement there. So it's frustrating. Right? Frustrating. The potential. 11-0. People are like, Steelers are trash. They're going to get bounced in the first round. They just proved them right. That sucks to let the haters win. That really is the worst. And they did it. The running game. I haven't even talked about the running backs. They're also well below average. They drafted McFarland this past year. He got a few carries on the season, as you see. 33. Didn't really do much with them, but that's somewhat down to the offensive line. Somewhat down to the lack of ability of the running backs. James Conner running for 4.3 yards per attempt is I know I'm not a huge fan of James Conner myself, but maybe that's not half bad behind what he had to work with, behind the lack of holes being opened. I don't know, today we saw Pouncey just getting pushed back on clutch fullback dive situations, just giving his lunch money to him. So I don't know if Pouncey just stopped working out, stopped lifting weights or what, because he looks awful. He looks like let's see how much they actually how much is Pouncey getting paid? DeCastro's getting paid 14. He regressed hard. Pouncey's getting paid 14 mil for his cap hit. Yeah, he got lazy. Pouncey has not been good the last couple years. I can look up their grades. I shouldn't share their grades for PFF because, it's a paywall and whatnot. But yeah, Pouncey is in the bottom third of the league. DeCastro, about 50%. So he's middle of the pack. Feller, slightly above average. Dotson, slightly above average. And that's kind of what I want to go through. Villanueva was, I guess top third of the league. Or ish, right about the third. So, their line regressed. And it's frustrating overall. Now, the biggest, controversies, Juju dancing on the symbols in the middle of the field, did not endear us to anyone. And he's about to get paid this offseason. So it does feel like, Juju came on as a rookie phenomenally, right? Came out, performed, was very young out of the draft. It was like, wow, this guy's got another potential on the upside. Literally hasn't improved at all, which really calls into mind, what is he in the NFL for? Is he in the NFL to get better as a wide receiver, seeing as he's got no improvement in the last few years? Or is he there to, make himself into a social media darling superstar, after the NFL, so he has this future set up? Now, there's nothing wrong with that, right? You see a lot of people doing commercials, building their following. There's nothing wrong with that. The only question is, when you don't improve as somebody who's so young and you really kind of struggle, although he had a game, when they're shooting out today, when you don't really see too much of that, he didn't really step in the limelight as that number one as he was projected to. You got to understand, it's that thing in the back of your mind saying, well, does he actually not care enough to try more to reach that next level? Right? A lot of the best receivers are always putting in the work. And so it does kind of get there. Does he care more about Fortnite with Ninja? Is that the social media TikTok dances is what he cares about playing in the NFL for? So it's frustrating. So he's looking to get paid in the offseason, right? So in a walk year, to put up just average numbers like he did, he really could have set himself up. He's already richer than all of us, but man, he could have really done something more. So I don't know. In my opinion, we'll see what he comes back with. I hope they don't overpay him. Right? They've overpaid a few players in the past, and it's come back to bite them. Roethlisberger's severely overpaid. I mean, that you have to pay your quarterback, but jeez, 41 mil on the cap for Roethlisberger. Now, Roethlisberger's salary next year, if they do cut him, they will save 19 million. So my dream scenario, right? Roethlisberger, cut him, okay? Save 19 million, and then trade your entire draft. Whoop, wrong one. How come it doesn't show up very easily? Can't even spell Watson correctly. Wait. Oh, there he is. God dang. All right. And to acquire Deshaun Watson, because next year his cap number is 15 million. Trade the entire draft. See what you get for Watson. Right? Because you pay him, you get him on the salary. All right, so he's got 40 million for 22-23. You're also losing a few more players over the next few years, right? Let's see how long Pouncey's getting paid for. He's got one more year, a 2021 salary. If you cut him, you save 8 million. But then you got to pay. So next year you have TJ Watt's final year on contract. After this, you got to pay him, and I think you throw the bag at Watt. So you get Watt, and then an Pro Bowl level quarterback. It's not going to happen, but that's the dream scenario. Otherwise, the other dream scenario is to look at free agency, and you got Dak Prescott right here. Dak Prescott's in free agency. Probably will never happen. That would probably a hope and a dream. That'd be nice to have him. Otherwise, let's look at Tuitt and DeCastro's contracts. They're signed for a few more years. Tuitt's got a couple more years left without too much cap savings by getting rid of him. DeCastro, he's locked up through next year also. So yeah, they're gonna either need to restructure Ben to move some money around for some of their signings. Like, I'd like to have Bud Dupree back. Bud Dupree, I think, played well for us. Sadly, Bud Dupree is I got the 2021 up, not the 2020. Bud Dupree is a pending free agent, so no matter what they decide to do with him, sign him. I just don't think they have the cap room, because look at 2021, they're already under the total cap space. So restructure Ben is basically a need, and cut some players going forward. Otherwise, the draft they could choose a lot of spots, right? They could go so many different ways. They need help at basically every single position group on the team. I can't see, like, maybe safety is the one they don't need, right? I think you draft anything in the first round. It was kind of cool this past year to see. Let me see. What am I? Chase Claypool, who's the de facto #1 pick. They picked him around 2. Became a top tier, amazing wide receiver. Alex Highsmith contributed near the end of the year. A little bit worse against the run than I like, but he had some pretty nice sacks there. McFarland, he got playing time but didn't play anything. Dotson actually thought played pretty decently for a guard and somebody who had to kind of like fill in for some spots. So I really like the Dotson, Claypool picks. The rest of them still have some proving of themselves to go. But overall, it was kind of cool to see the draft play out with some good rookies that played pretty well. So, they got some choices, man. It's going to be a brutal offseason, I think, for the roster. If Roethlisberger restructures it down, adds a couple more years, we'll see. Maybe he ends up retiring. I doubt he will. $41 million be the cap space. Getting salary bonus, regular roster bonus. He's getting paid next year again. So, there it is. Hopefully they can solve their edge. Hopefully they can solve their offensive line. But yeah, pay the coach. Pay an offensive line coach. You need to. Give him the bag. Double the Cleveland Browns offensive line coach's salary to bring him to Pittsburgh. Just steal him. Straight up, steal him. And then fire Fichtner too. Otherwise, there you go. That's my thoughts on the season. Overall, inconsistent. Sorry, I don't know if this dragged down or not, but it's a sad time. Sad time to go out in the Steelers. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments. Thumbs up if you liked the video. Thumbs down if you didn't. But take it easy, dudes. See you next year. Baseball season, hockey season? Hockey and baseball season coming up. Otherwise, 6 months till we're back to the NFL. Peace.